Editor of American Affairs and New York Magazine's contributing editor Andrew Sullivan, who is still with me. What does this mean for we who are not Americans, and how do you read his interest in the international community?
He has almost no interest in the international community. He has attacked NATO consistently in a way that no other president has ever done. American presidents since the Second World War have supported the international order and seen America as the indispensable guarantee of that peace and stability. That is now over in a terrifying way. His model for government is not a democratic country. It is Russia, is Putin's Russia. That's how he wants to run the United States. I don't think he realizes he can't, or it's going to be a struggle if he wants to. I mean, he wanted to have tanks in this inaugural parade. He wanted cruise missiles. This is not a democratic person. This is not someone in the line of American tradition. It is way outside of it.
Well, I'm glad Andrew has his pulse on the inaugural planning committee, but with respect to NATO, in fact, people like Irving Kristol had written essays calling for the U.S. to withdraw from NATO in the 1980s. During the Bush administration, I'm old enough to remember everyone was calling France and Germany old Europe and talking about how we need to reframe NATO to deal with the new challenges of terrorism, whatever. The Obama administration has talked about getting more defense commitments from NATO allies. It's not that radical. His rhetoric sometimes tends toward the bombastic for reasons of his own, but in fact, changing NATO means strengthening NATO, and these things will have to be done to make it stronger.
But there is an immediate situation. We have NATO troops out on the Baltic borders against the Russians. We have Russian missiles being pointed in various rather alarming directions. What happens now? What message is the outside world going to take from this?
It's a terrible message. It's a lack of American resolve in defending these international institutions, not just NATO, but financial institutions, the entire interdependent global world that he's attacking. The message is that he's going to listen to Putin as much as he does to any democratic leader. He's paid more attention to him than to Merkel, than to May, than certainly to Hollande, and he's trying, I think, to get elected Le Pen in France. I mean, this is a radical, far-right president.
This is very interesting because actually, the last act by President Obama was to send a letter to Mrs. Merkel in Germany, and the warmth of the relationship which he talked about with her. I mean, is that all over?
I don't believe that it's over, but with respect to Russia, the media has certainly paid a lot of attention to it.
Because he said some extraordinary things,
and a lot of it, they've made up, as we've seen recently. But, with respect to...
No, I don't mean the suggestions of scandal, etc., but the warmth that he's expressed towards Putin and indeed towards the Russians.
Well, the reality is our policy toward Putin for the last decade or so has been one of shrill but impotent rhetoric, which conduces neither to containing a hostile enemy, if you believe they are that, or having pragmatic relations with them, which we have often tried to do in Syria and so forth. So I think that we do need a new policy on Russia. Whether Trump's works or not, we will have to see.
But the warmth that he expresses, is that not just as empty?
I don't really see it as warmth so much as just being more pragmatic.
I don't. I think he says specifically that he admires Putin for the great control he has of his country. He doesn't like Democrats. He doesn't like equals. He doesn't like having to share. He doesn't like having to balance things out. He likes to dictate.
But there's another flashpoint that we haven't mentioned, and that's the islands in the South China Sea. Now, he's talked about those, and it sounds to us as if he does not particularly want to see the Chinese left in possession of them.
No, I mean, picking a fight with Beijing without a provocation, even before he's president, is just a mark of I'll be frank, I think he's mentally unstable. I think he's temperamentally unstable. I think he could provoke a major international crisis.
Well, the controversy with China over those islands has been going on for a long time. And at the end of the day, it's not going to come down to what he says, but what he does and what leverage the U.S. can actually exert.
Just deal with the instability that Andrew suggests.
Well, we all like to be on TV and say funny things.
But is it so funny?
I don't think there's any evidence that the man is mentally unstable whatsoever.
But you're going to be writing about Trumpism. And is Trumpism a definable and stable thought process?
Well, Trumpism exists beyond Trump. The issues that Trump raised and won on are not going away. Whether Trump actually addresses those issues and brings positive change, we'll have to see. He's been president for 20 minutes, but the issues are not going away.
Julius Krein and Andrew Sullivan, thank you both very much indeed.